Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing tonight?
Got a head cold, but I got my car working. It was one of the cars went, one of our two cars went dead in the 5,000 below weather, and but I was able to recharge it with this nifty device, and it seems to be back for now at least. And the Oilers beat the Leafs. The Oilers beat the Leafs. It's always great because there's that building full of Leafs fans.
Well, it's not full of Leafs fans, but there's always a good sort of unhealthy share of them there, like 20 or 25%.
Yeah,
they really got the conflicting chants going, a couple times.
I give them credit for good timing because the Oilers would like, "Let's go Oilers," and then they'd
Leafs go. They'd split in the.
Oh, those Leaf fans! All right, Bruce, how are you doing?
Well, I'm pretty happy. Oilers beat the Leafs. I mean, what's not to like? Coming back again, David. 2-0 down this time. Fourth game in a row that they gave in the first goal. In this game, they gave in the first two goals. Still found a way to win all of those games without filling the net in any of them. But the thing is, they limited the damage again.
Does it feel, Bruce, like, did you, like, as I was watching this game, I never gave up hope because the Oilers just seem to have this ability right now to superpower to stay in games and keep coming back in them, keep coming back, and they did it again. Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, two numbers, and one conundrum podcast. One conundrum. Was it Colonel Mustard in the conservatory?
With the lead pipe.
You think? All right.
I've always tried to visualize those lead pipe assassinations, and they always turn grisly.
That would be kind of a grisly. I can't even remember any of the other weapons, honestly.
There was a rope. There was a knife. There was, let me think, there's a few. I
remember Miss Peacock and Miss Scarlet.
Right. Yeah, they all
Mr. Green?
Professor Plum. I used to choose Professor Plum when I had the choice. And Mr. Green, Mrs. White, they're all colors, of course.
All right. Yeah, maybe that's where Quentin Tarantino got the idea in that movie. Bruce, all right. Back on track. Two good things each. What is your first good thing?
Well, I'm going to go with the game's first star, Ryan McLeod, who has been on a royal heater now for a while. He missed Saturday night's game at Montreal with some kind of illness, and tonight he was reassigned to the 3C role. This after playing on the second line with Draisaitl and Foegele for the previous 9 or so games before he went out in Montreal. And so tonight they bumped Kane up to, or left Kane up with Draisaitl and Foegele, and McLeod wound up on the third line. And I thought he was relatively, not that noticeable for the first part of the game. But, he had just terrific shot shares in this game. 16-8 for shot attempts, 7-3 for shots on goal when he was on the ice. And that was in a depth role, but it was especially in the third period where he came up huge with the primary assist on the tying goal with a beautiful centering pass to Derek Ryan, who pounded it home from center slot to make it 2-2, a huge goal from the bottom six of the type the Oilers haven't been getting much of, even during the winning streak. It's a lot of the scoring's been coming from up the lineup. But they delivered a big play there, and McLeod's role in it. And, he was the guy who carried the puck all the way up the ice, entered the zone, passed it off, and then got the puck back, took it around behind the net, and slipped a perfect pass right onto the tape of Ryan to just wrap into the net from about 15 feet front and center. And then much later than that, of course, in the last just over 3 minutes left, where he delivered the game-winning goal on a play from where he showed, I thought, a goal scorer's patience, and this is something I've been almost begging Ryan McLeod to develop over his time. It's just, when you have a chance around the net, don't panic and just flub it into the guy's pads. Make a play, and he actually held it as he came out from behind the goal line, and he had McDavid right in the front of the net, and the original shot was tipped by McDavid in the slot, and McLeod picked it up behind the net, and he just rotated out the side, and he waited for that screen to develop, and as he improved his angle slightly, all of a sudden the TV angle was perfect. You could see this top corner of the net open up, and Jones, he couldn't even see Jones because McDavid was in his way, and you could just see if he can shoot it right there, it's going to be a goal. And hey, presto, he puts it right there, top shelf, boom, great shot, and just labeled it right in the top corner, boom, game winner. And good on you, Ryan McLeod, for getting over the Montreal flu, as his teammates were calling it on Saturday. And jumping right back in there, 1 goal, 1 assist, +2, and a couple of takeaways. And, he just a very positive overall influence on this game. So.
Yeah, he's now got 8 goals and 18 points in 39 games. Wasn't long ago where he had very few points. So
none at all after 20 some games.
Wow, he's really come alive.
No goals, pardon me, no goals at all. And he had like 3, I think after 20 games, he had no goals and 3 assists or something.
Yeah,
and now he's up to 8 and 10, eh?
Yeah, he has really come alive. Interesting choice to put him on a checking line, leading the checking line. I thought he had actually been playing really well with Draisaitl.
Yep.
And I hadn't seen anything from Kane that indicated the need for a promotion other than some subtle griping from him.
Very subtle.
Very subtle. Yeah, I wrote a post on how Kane's number of hits had been going down recently, but he came up with some hellacious hits,
5 hits
including
tonight.
clobbering Matthews. So, Kane had an up and down game, but there was some up there, and there was certainly the physical play. I was a little confused with the line matching earlier on in the game. I thought if you put together a checking line with McLeod and Ryan and Janmark, which is a very good checking line, all of these players are strong defensive players.
Yeah.
With Ryan and Janmark, exceptional defensive players. I thought you should play them against one of the top 2 lines on the Leafs, but he didn't do that so much early on. Might have seen it a little bit more later, but that confused me in the coach's approach. It was really interesting, though, that when the game was on the line in that crucial face-off late in the game, he had McLeod out there with McDavid and Draisaitl. He was really counting on him in that moment, and McLeod came through. Good for Ryan McLeod. He has shut up the people that were questioning him, including me. Certainly Ryan Rashog. Lots of people questioning him a lot about a lack of physical play. He does seem to be digging in deeper, but it's funny how when people start scoring goals, they also look like they're digging in deeper. So maybe it's more just a matter of patience with the puck, as you suggest, and getting his confidence in terms of making offensive plays. I think that's actually the bigger factor, that this looks like a player who has decided to, do that Paul Coffey thing and make plays with the puck. So maybe that's translating not only to the defensemen, but the forwards. Bruce, my good thing is I'll go with Stuart Skinner. I gave him the highest grade this game.
Yeah.
I thought he stole the win for the Oilers. Not because the grade A shots were 14-13, according to us, for Toronto. But when it came to the subset of 5 alarm shots, the absolutely most dangerous shots, it was 10-6 for Toronto. That's a substantial number of really dangerous shots. And one of them went off the post early in the game. So Skinner didn't stop that one. But did he ever make some fantastic saves, Bruce? Late in the first period, McDavid gave away the puck. And Matthews set up Pontus Holmberg. I thought for a second, is Pontus Aberg on that team?
No.
But it was Pontus Holmberg, and
that guy had a good game.
He hammered that shot on net, and Skinner made a spectacular glove save. Early in the second period.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Early in the second period, after a weird mix-up at the blue line between Draisaitl and Kane, and Nurse somehow was caught up the ice on the play as well. There's a Nylander goes in on a breakaway, and Skinner just got his shoulder, I think, on it, and it winged up and hit the crossbar off Nylander's fantastic shot. A little bit after that, Kampf goes in on a breakaway and charges the net. And then there's a scrum where there's another unbelievable shot, and Skinner keeps both of them out. A moment later, Matthews moves into the slot, hammers a wicked shot, and another save. So he was just
save, yeah.
At that point, the Oilers got down 1-0, then 2-0, but Skinner kept them close enough. It wasn't 3-0, it wasn't 4-0, which it easily could have been with that amount of firepower hitting the Oilers' net. So Stuart Skinner was outstanding in this game, and he's my first good thing.
Well, but my addendum, coda to your good thing is that Skinner got up 2 times when he absolutely got leveled in the crease, and I was having visions of Dwayne Rollison dancing in my head, and it was not a happy memory. And he was down and stayed down twice, and he really got hammered. And thankfully, he bent but didn't break. The second time, he made 2 saves in a row, and then the puck kind of went underneath him, and he kind of had to stick his glove down almost into his belly to keep it off the goal line. And there was just this huge scramble, and somehow that one didn't go in. He had to stand not so much tall, but very strong on that goal line stand, because Toronto basically were trying to power puck him and everything into the net. And they wound up being unsuccessful because Stu wound up sawing off the power battle and somehow managing to seal off the goal line. But I was genuinely worried that he was hurt on 2 different occasions. He was really slow getting back up, and he wasn't milking it. He got hammered on both of those plays. So that was great, but he had another wonderful game. First goal, no chance. Second goal was such a weird play. It was a shot from the point. It hits one guy in the skate, hits Holmberg, I was going to say Aberg, on the skate, just bounces straight sideways to Matthews, and then he kind of whiffs the pass that he's attempting or whatever play he's making, and it goes straight to a third Toronto guy, and he just sticks it in the net. And it was just tough on the goalie to keep tracking that puck as it went, sort of east-west twice in a row. And the shooting angle changed, and then the third guy was able to punch it in the short side. But he made a number of stellar stops, and he's been the real goods for Edmonton.
Bruce, what's your second good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to single out Cody Ceci tonight. I thought he had a fine game against his old club, and he was, played plenty of time against top opposition as he usually does, but he had a pretty good line and some unusual numbers for him. Well, system +1 was a good place to start. He played 23 minutes 58 seconds tonight, the most on the Oilers. Cody Ceci, including almost all of it at even strength, a little bit on the penalty kill. And they just kept throwing him and Nurse over the boards and over the boards. He blocked 5 shots in this game, and he made contributions by our methods to both of Edmonton's key goals in the third period. The tying goal, first of all, he made a really good shot block in his own end that enabled the McLeod breakout. But later, when the centering pass came out from McLeod to Ryan, Ceci popped into the slot and slapped his stick on the ice, and the Toronto forward, I think it was Matthew Nyes, he had a choice to take either Ceci or Ryan. He took Ceci, McLeod picked Ryan, and Ryan picked the corner, so it worked out well. But Ceci being in there as an extra man, sort of flooding the slot on that play, worked out well for Edmonton. I just thought overall he had a strong game. And, looking at the natural stat trick results of this game, that pairing had, for all the minutes they played, they had the better of the shot shares right across the board, most notably in high danger chances, which tonight we had a rare disagreement with natural stat trick on those, but it happens because they're counting different stuff. They had him on for 11 high danger chances for the Oilers and just 3 for Toronto. And so, I mean, that's fantastic for any player. But for a defensive defenseman, I mean, obviously he wasn't involved in all 11 of those, but the fact is the puck was at the right end of the ice when all those things happened. And I just thought he had a standout game. And he most often just kind of disappears into the woodwork and does his thing. But in tonight's game, I thought he was excellent. So I am going to give him the rare shout out as being one of Oilers' best players.
Yeah, he mostly gets shouted at. There's a lot of people who would like to see Cody Ceci.
We have to upgrade Ceci. I read that about 50 times a day. We got to upgrade Ceci.
I think like the Toronto Maple Leafs might love to have a player like Cody Ceci. He's playing solid hockey this year. He's about as good as he was that first season in Edmonton. Took a step back last year when he was hurt. It's funny how often players take a step back mainly because they're hurt, and that's unrecognized or not acknowledged enough. But this year he looks healthy again, and he's playing solid hockey, Bruce. And he certainly was solid tonight. I gave him a 7 for having a good game.
Stuff. Yeah, he did
Bruce,
have a good game.
My second good thing is Connor McDavid. I just thought his effort tonight was exemplary. He seemed more ready for the game than most of his teammates. The Oilers got off to a weak start. He got the Oilers' first shot, a grade A shot on a wraparound attempt. And then a moment later, Ekholm made a very nice pass, sending him in, and he went in on a break-in and almost scored. A couple more break-ins, one in the second, one in the third, that were very dangerous. And then on the winning goal, that was an example. It was kind of Crosby-like, I thought, in its determination. Winning, just a winning, sprawling board battle that he won. And then he went to the net and the total eclipse of the sun screen on the goal by Connor McDavid. And he just gutted out that goal and willed it into the net. And I thought he really came to play to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he succeeded.
Yeah, well, it was Ceci with the outside shot there, and McDavid tipped it just about crossbar level. When I saw the behind the net replay, I thought they're going to challenge that for a high stick because it missed the net, but that was when McLeod picked it up and then circled in front. But the live action view from the front, it looked like his stick was just right there at crossbar level. Like Ceci's shot was basically just under the crossbar. And so he got a piece of it. He did get a point on that play, his only point of the night. But that screen was sublime. And what I loved about it was, well, first of all, that battle in the corner when he got taken down pretty hard and the crowd was booing. And he got up, and while he was up, he just sort of casually gave a left-hand punch to Morgan Riley, I think, was the guy who took him down there. And he just sort of gave him a shot, and the game carried on. The refs weren't going to call anything at that point. Nothing was going to get called. And so if you're going to get brawled out in the trenches, you might as well get a few shots into your own, right? But what I loved about the screen was the recognition as McLeod circled out in front. And McDavid, he was a little further out from the goal line. And when he realized what McLeod might be doing, he just did this sort of half rotation in towards the goal line, right into Jones' line of sight, and opened up the shooting lane for the shot into the top corner. Because if McLeod had hit that spot and McDavid hadn't moved, it would have just hit him. But he opened up, both screened the goalie and left McLeod a target to hit. And it's just one of those super awareness type things, I think, on that play. Other than that, he's awfully lucky, McDavid, because things seem to work out in his favor a lot. But He doesn't do a whole lot of screening, but he does, usually he's the guy with the puck, right? And or certainly involved in its movement.
Yeah.
But in this play, it was McLeod that sort of had it for, 3-4 seconds and before he finished the play, and McDavid got to where he could do the most good and did it.
Great play from the NHL's once and future Hart Trophy winner. All right, Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Well, it's going to be the start of the game again. We've been here before and talked about this. I was really worried about this. And I was worried if Edmonton would get in this game because Toronto came in with 3 highly disappointing losses in a row in just the last 4 days. And my thinking was they're going to be absolutely loaded for bear right from the puck drop, Toronto. And Oilers better be loaded for full, or whatever. They better be ready because it's going to be coming at them. And they weren't ready for the very first shift, and Toronto just brought it on hard. I think Bouchard maybe made a couple of not really great plays. First of all, a turnover in the neutral zone, and then a sort of ineffective sortie into the corner. And then he just simply didn't pick up Auston Matthews rotating in the slot and wound up covering nobody while Matthews put it in the net. And it wasn't just him. There was a few mistakes made on that play. And then on the second play, Edmonton turned it over inside the Toronto blue line, and Toronto came out 4-on-2. Could have been 5-on-2, but the fifth guy went for a line change. It was a 4-on-2, and this time they messed up and put themselves offside at the blue line. And then on the third play, there was another massive defensive breakdown. And who was it? Wound up alone right in front. Was it Domi? And
Bertuzzi?
Bertuzzi, yeah, I get those guys mixed up because they both came kind of at the same time. Yeah, it was Bertuzzi, and he bounced a shot off the post, and the rebound was almost a tap in for him. I think Janmark was the guy who helped deprive him of that second chance, but he'd gotten burned on the original one, and here we are, like not 2 minutes into the first period, and thinking, well, a goal, a 4-on-2, a post from like right directly in front. This it's not a matter of this is going to get ugly. This is already ugly. And I said to my wife, I wonder if a coach has ever called his timeout before he even got all 4 of his lines on the ice. Because this was 3 shifts into the game. And, in a slightly different universe, it could be 3-0 by then. But McDavid, I think he had his best moments in this game, maybe in the middle part of the first period, to sort of drag Edmonton back into the fight. It was 1-0, 1-0, it stayed 1-0. And Edmonton actually owned the last part of the first period. But those first couple of minutes were, and it was so predictable that Toronto was going to come out hard after what happened to them in prior games. And you've seen games where one team just needs the win more than the other team, and they get it because of that. And it sure started off that way. And thankfully, Edmonton had enough staying power and enough good goaltending and the wherewithal to pull off yet another comeback win, their 4th in a row.
Wow. Yeah.
First goal against in all 4 games. And they only scored in those games, 11 goals? But they scored enough to win all 4 of them.
Bruce, my bad thing, Bruce, is it was a pretty weak game. Other than Ceci, I didn't think the defense had a good game. Deharnay made a bad play early on, leading to one of the rush chances. Bouchard kicked off and ended the sequence of pain on the first goal against. Ekholm, he had a number of plays where he just failed to shut it down. He had a weak clearance when Kampf went in on the breakaway. Kampf picked it off. Bouchard had already made a bad pinch, and Ekholm's turnover then led to Kampf's breakaway and that other goal mouth chance. Darnell Nurse with his kind of up ice play on the big rush. Chance we were talking about earlier. it was, and then he had a couple turnovers in the second period, Darnell. There's kind of almost lazy, weird turnovers. Nurse was up ice on the Nylander break-in. Then these couple turnovers, Bouchard and Ekholm, all of these guys, they were just not sharp. And it
Bouchard
felt
five
like
giveaways.
Felt like the defensive play we saw earlier this year when the Oilers were giving up a lot of rush chances. And I thought the forwards were doing a pretty good job in this one, but no, the defensemen did not have their best game. It was their worst game in some time, but the Oilers survived it because of the play of Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was huge for sure. Yeah, you're right about Desharnais getting burned early in the game. Other than that one specific play, I thought he was good. Vince, I thought he was very reliable with the puck, making good decisions with it, and making decent breakout passes. Nothing fancy, but you don't want to expect fancy. You just want consistent. It's funny, like high danger chances. Again, this is natural stat trick. They had Ceci at 11-3, Nurse at 12-3. They had Kulak at 5-2, and Desharnais at 5-2. And then Bouchard was 3-5 and Ekholm 2-5. So it was a very rare game that Ekholm-Bouchard pairing had the toughest time defensively, and it was not the most creative offensively, even as Bouchard did wind up with 2 points, but he's one of those guys that he gets points,
Well, we had Nurse making let me just see this. We had Nurse making not one major contribution to a grade A shot for, and 4 major mistakes on grade A shots against. Now they don't bear down on the individual player, and they also include missed shots.
It's on ice.
Yeah, it's on ice numbers, and they include missed shots, like shots that don't even hit the net, and it's their high danger chances. It's got to hit the net. So I think sometimes their numbers are not.
Oh, they're not going to bounce with ours for sure.
Yeah. So I didn't see Nurse and Ceci being that as dominant. I thought Ceci had a good game, but Nurse did not. And so, Bruce, your number.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with the weird -2 of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins tonight. He was on the ice. He was one of those beaten on the sidewall on the first goal. The second goal, he just happened to be out there. I don't think there was anything he did wrong in particular. But why I'm singling it out is not to hammer on Nurse, but to point out that the coach was doing lots of stuff during this game, doing lots of experimenting, because Nugent's line mate, Connor McDavid, wound up +1. And he was at -2 the same time Nuge was earlier in the game. But on the first Edmonton goal, the third goal of the game, it was McDavid was on the ice with Draisaitl and Kane. And then on the game-winning goal, McDavid was on the ice with McLeod and Draisaitl. And of course, McLeod scored. And then on the empty net goal, McDavid was on the ice with Draisaitl and Hyman. So coach kept spotting him out there like the odd time, and I don't think they played a ton of time together, McDavid and Draisaitl, but they were on the ice together for 3 Edmonton goals. Mind you, one was an empty netter. But it was coach was just trying to do a few different things and give Toronto a few different looks, especially when the Oilers were behind in the game. And it worked because they kept scoring with these sort of different combinations. And I'm just looking up how much did McDavid play with Draisaitl at 5-on-5, during which they clicked for 2 points. And it was 2 minutes and 27 seconds, but two old goals.
Yeah.
2 old goals for the Oilers in those 2.5 minutes. And it just was different combinations each time with a third different winger. And it was just some tinkering, in-game live tinkering by the coach. And I mean, notably, McLeod, who scored the winning goal, being put up with McDavid and Draisaitl, which is a combination I don't recall ever seeing before.
I thought he was using up all his centers on one shift there. Like, who's he going to put up there next? Of course, he's got Ryan, Nugent Hopkins, and
Ryan and
Hamlin that he can put out. But yeah, it was interesting, and I guess like I like consistency. If the lines are going good, just use them. But you know, it. How do you keep it going? How do you keep things interesting and a little bit chaotic for the other team? You can't be too predictable if you're going to keep winning either, I suppose. So he mixed it up and it worked. Bruce, my number is 2. And we mentioned McDavid's total eclipse of the screen on Martin Jones on the winning goal. So I was wondering, how often does that happen? So I went back and I checked our numbers because we record this kind of thing. In the last 3 years, Bruce, McDavid has only made that play 2 other times. Once last year and once in 2021.
Wow.
So it's a rare, and you don't want him screening. Like, it's not his natural thing because he's trying to get open to get the pass, to get the puck. It's not really his job to go screen the goalie, but he made a hell of a good decision tonight. That was an excellent play. And, we won't see it again probably this year, but I certainly relished it this evening.
Yeah, he doesn't get many deflections either. Generally when he's going for the net, it's because he's got the puck or he's getting open for a pass as opposed to getting in the line of fire for an outside shot or, which is a screen or a deflection, basically. His game is centered more on him having the puck. But tonight he made that huge contribution while one of his temporary line mates stuck it in the net.
Moving on to our conundrum, Bruce. And that is, the Oilers have games coming up against Seattle on Thursday night and Calgary on Saturday night. Who should they play in net? Should they stick with Stu Winner for the next 2 games, Stuart Winner, or should they go with Calvin Pickard for one of those games? If you were the coach, Bruce, what would be your call?
This week, I think I would go with Skinner.
Whoa.
Yeah, he played tonight, and he did take, unless he wakes up and he's sore tomorrow because he got hammered, in which case that obviously will have an impact on the. And I like Pickard. I'm looking at these as being huge individual games. Right, Edmonton's got 49 points. Seattle and Calgary got 47 each. Now, Edmonton's got games in hand on both. But these are games you dearly love to win both of those games. And I'm thinking the week that follows, they have a game or 2 against lighter teams, and that's where they've usually been spotting in, like whoever they're playing next Tuesday, that would be Pickard's game to me. But just because of the nature of where Seattle just came out of a 9-game winning streak. They lost now yesterday and today. Calgary has bounced back with a 4-game winning streak. They came from 2 goals down in the third tonight to beat Arizona in overtime. And so both of those teams you'd like to see in the rear view. And one way to try and accomplish that is with your best. So interested to see I'm not sure there's any one right answer. I'm just saying that would be my temptation as the coach, would be to use Skinner for the top teams that you play. And it just so happens this week they got 3 in a row, but never back to back. If there was back to back, that would change it, but it isn't.
So I would go with Pickard against Seattle and Skinner against Calgary. I think we saw last year in the playoffs that Stuart Skinner can get worn down. Any goalie can get worn down. This is a tough league. They were at a long road trip. As you say, he got beat up a little tonight. And you made that a proviso. If he's beat up, then, if he's hurting, then you'd go with Pickard.
Yes.
I'm just assuming he's hurting a bit. And I just like the idea of having a set rotation a little, some predictability for all the players. And I think they've been going with Pickard. I think it would be kind of within the regular rotation to go with Pickard in this next game. And I think it's a good idea. He's got the same percentage almost as Stuart Skinner. Yeah. Skinner's been better lately than Pickard, but Pickard's been hanging. He hasn't had a bad game, Pickard, in some time. He's been playing well. So the Oilers have got to listen. They have 49 points in 40 games. Well, Nashville has 49 points, but in 44 games. Calgary and Seattle have 47 points, but in 44 games. I just think this isn't. You don't keep your pedal to the metal the whole season. You've got to get into the rhythm, and you have to make decisions that are going to keep players healthy and into the team, into the game. So when you factor in all of those things, I would go with Calvin Pickard against Seattle and Stuart Skinner against Calgary. Did I convince you?
I'm going to let Coach Chris Knobloch convince me. He's the guy that's got the keys to the team, and he'll choose which route to take. But I mean, I like Pickard. Of the two, I think Seattle would be the one. I mean, at Calgary on Hockey Day in Canada, you want to come with your best. And with on Thursday against Seattle, my temptation is also to come with my best. And these days, that is Stu, the unflappable Stu Skinner. And I heard there was some conversation about him on one of the podcasts. I think Got Your Back with Rashog and Strudwick and Brown. That's an excellent discussion that they have. And they were talking about the type of goaltender the Oilers needed. And they didn't name the guy, but I landed on, like they were saying, well, the Oilers are, usually carrying the play, and sometimes they'll get a few shots, and the other team's goalie is hot, and Skinner's sitting back there in net thinking, well, I might not see a shot for a while. When I do, it might be a dangerous one. I better stop it because the other guy's stopping everything. And I was thinking, Ken Dryden. That's Ken Dryden. His team used to always carry the play, but his job was to hold them in games where they didn't get to a good start, or hold them, make that one big stop when the other team finally was able to break through Montreal's invincible defense and get a decent shot on goal, and they finally break through, and there'd be Ken Bloody Dryden waiting for him. And he's got a little bit of that vibe to him. So when you have a team that dominates play, that's what you need. You need a cool character that will be ready to face down the challenge when it inevitably comes, because even the greatest of teams makes mistakes. But the Oilers are carrying play significantly in game after game. Tonight, I think it was 75-53 in shot attempts. And so, they had the puck, 75-53 in shot attempts. And, they had, 59% of the goals or shot attempts the Oilers had tonight, 66% of the high danger chances, and yet Skinner had to be really good for Oilers not to let this game get away on him, and he was really good, and they were able to reel the Leafs back in. It was because their goalie held them in the game.
Yeah, the Ken Dryden comparison is an interesting one. They're both great big guys. That was less common in Dryden's day.
There's a lot of them now.
There's a lot of them. Most of them are great big guys, but there is some similarities. And Dryden wrote, if you've never read The Game, it is the best book on hockey that's ever been written, I believe. And Dryden in that book writes about playing on a dominant team and the need he felt for just even early in the game, if there was a puck cleared in his zone, just to play it perfectly, to keep his team in the rhythm, to have everyone comfortable, not worried about their goalie, just everything's running like clockwork, and that's how that great team functioned. That really went out the window, especially with Jack Campbell, and I think it was a big reason why the Oilers were so wonky. I just think it's so discombobulating when the goalies aren't making even routine saves, and Skinner was part of that trouble as well. He is playing a Dryden-like game right now. he will now be back in contention, for a team like if he keeps playing like this all year and he can come up big in the playoffs, like he's going to be right in there to be a Team Canada goalie, Stuart Skinner. So
keeps playing like this.
He's playing really, really well. Bruce, and I agree. Like, I'm not actually trying to persuade anyone about who should play, because the fact of the matter is the coach has knowledge of the player's physical condition, the mood of the team, the psyche of the players, all these things that we have limited knowledge about. And he will make an informed choice, which we can't do. We just don't have all the information. And I think sometimes it's like fans, anyone commenting on the game lacks information, but you got to be aware of what you don't know. And there seems to be a limited knowledge of people being aware of what they don't know when they're commenting on the Oilers. And I'm sure I do it all the time as well, but to be aware of that is important. And again, the issue that you raised about if Skinner doesn't play, for instance, some people will be grumbling about that, but maybe he just got absolutely bruised up, banged up, and is desperate for a day off. And they're not going to admit that. They're not going to talk about it, because that's information that can help the opposition.
He'll be the backup, but the idea would be he'll be the backup for the entire game.
Yes,
break glass in a case of emergency otherwise.
Yeah, he just gets to rest his body. So that could be the only factor could be that. But it could be absolutely critical. And then Pickard will be in net, not Stuart Skinner. So anyway, point made. Final thoughts?
Oh, I got final numbers. Evander Kane, who's been in the spotlight, you wrote about him yesterday. And he got moved up to the second line. And he had a very kind of bizarre game. But here are some numbers from Evander Kane. 6 shots on net, 8 shot attempts, both leading the team. 5 hits to lead the team, tied with Connor McDavid. And 5 giveaways to lead the team. And that's kind of Evander Kane in a nutshell there. Big numbers right across the board, and they're not necessarily always good ones. But I thought he was very involved in this game. His ability to handle the puck in his own end gives me the willies. His inability to handle
his defensive play gives me the willies, honestly. Like, he is not a great defensive. He's a mediocre defensive player.
Yes.
So I'm always worried when he's out there against top competition.
He almost scored. He drove around the defenseman hard to the net, and he just couldn't quite pull the puck back into. He got right past Jones.
Yeah, great play.
But he couldn't quite pull it back in. But I thought he looked more of his upside. You're always going to have to, bite some bullets with that guy, but you want to see positive plays to counterbalance that. And I saw some positive things in Kane's game tonight, and
he's been playing hurt some time.
Oh, absolutely.
And it'll be great if he can get healthy, and we'll see a better Evander Kane. Should we leave it there, Bruce?
I think we might as well, David.
All righty. Thanks for talking tonight, Bruce.
11 in a row. That's the other number. Thanks for listening,
11 in
everyone.
a row. Yeah, 11 in a row. Wow. Yeah. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.